What's up? My name is Noe. This is my e36 Prime Attack build. Today we're going to be doing a build breakdown in my very first YouTube video. I'm excited. Sorry the audio is shit. There's traffic going on and my microphone broke. So audio and video will get better as we go on. But let's get right into today's video. Build breakdown on the e36.
Starting the build breakdown in the front, moving to the rear. We'll go engine bay first. S54 for my motor. I love this motor. It's been in my car for a decent amount of time. Even when the car didn't even have a body kit, it had the S54. But I do love this motor a lot. So I decided to rebuild it instead of switching to a different one. S54, my favorite motor by far, hands down. But nevertheless, I did CP rods, CP pistons. I did head studs, main studs, and I did a Athena style head gasket. Also went with ACL bearings for the bottom end. So all of that, and then also a diverter valve for the oil filter housing. So all the oil goes straight to the oil cooler instead of bypassing it. And yeah, so all that's good. Everything else is pretty much stock. Other than that, still got stock ITBs. I did stay stock with the porting size for the head. So the head's pretty much stock other than the head gasket and the head studs, which really don't change much. But yeah, we lowered the compression a little bit. And then also I went up in bore size. So I bored it out just a little bit. The intake side, we got the PPF intake manifold. I love it. It looks great. I did have to make some modifications to the boots to get it to fit. Because if you just do what they recommend, the straight couplers, it's way too high for the E36. So I did make some modifications to make it work, but I do love the intake manifold. And that's gonna be feeding down to an air to water intercooler. I don't have it in the engine bay right now, just because it's at the fabricator getting the Wiggins clamps welded on. But my air to water setup's gonna be right here. That's what those two tubes are for. That's the feed and the return. And that goes to my Bosch water pump right there. Then that feeds all the way into the inside to the ice box. So yes, I'll have my intercooler right here, and then I'll feed over to my turbo. My turbo choice is a Precision Gen 2 s54, 66. I think that'll give me enough response and then also horsepower. My turbo is probably what's gonna limit me within my horsepower, because I built the motor to withstand, I would say, around 1500 horsepower, and the turbo maxes out at 9. So, but my goals are around 800 to 900, probably 900, but we'll see. We'll see. Moving on to cooling. Cooling is also another big thing that I wanted to focus on, because one, the S54 runs hot naturally, and then I'm adding a turbo to it, so that doesn't make it any better. So I did run a X-Line radiator from Ishimoto. I found the Z3M one is actually bigger than the E36 M3 X-Line radiator. So I did opt for the Z3M radiator. I also do have an oil cooler, but it's not in the front right now because I still need to get it. But yeah, it's gonna be basically the whole top side of the radiator is gonna be an oil cooler, and then the whole bottom side is just gonna be exposed. So I'm gonna have ducting for both the top and the bottom. They're gonna be split. We're gonna make that, stay tuned for those videos. But yeah, they're gonna be split from top to bottom. Also with ducting, I did 3D print some ducts for the brakes, and they will shoot over there. I will block off this. I do have my block off panel for this, but I just haven't put it in yet. So there's that. Also with the front end, I do have a massive front splitter. This is from 9 Lives, or at least the brackets are. The design is also from 9 Lives. They have a template on their website. Did go ahead and purchase, but their front splitter for their E36 is only 4 inches, and I extended mine to 9 inches. So I just took their template and extended it out, and yeah, I love it. It looks good. It's really easy to install too, because of the quick release mounts. So it's just something that I can take off and put on depending on if I'm loading it into the trailer, or if I need to move it, or if I'm, whatever the case is, I can take it off. I mentioned the exhaust manifold. The exhaust manifold is a PPF. Same with the intake, it's a PPF manifold. It has provision for a wastegate on the side. I'm gonna be running a tile 60 60mm wastegate along with a tile blow-off valve, so I can have the best of both worlds. I don't want to damage the ITBs, so we're gonna stick with a blow-off valve for now. I know it's not gonna make this do noises, but it is what it is. Power steering is also another thing that I am working on. I do have a yellow tag rack down there. My rack is all hooked up. But I want to go to electric power steering. As you see, there's no power steering pump on the motor. I just kind of wanted to remove everything that I could from the motor. So power steering is not going to be on the motor. I'm going to move to electric power steering. I do have a Dodge Durango power steering pump right now, but after doing a little bit more research, I think that's just going to be a little too big, a little too powerful. It's going to give me a weird feeling in my steering wheel, especially since this car is light. It's not going to need a whole lot of power steering. So we're gonna switch over to the Volvo power steering pump. I don't know if I'm gonna put it right there or in the back. Once I get it, I'll weigh it and see if it's enough weight to justify putting it in the back, or if I'm just gonna keep it in the front and make the lines small. Kind of just wanna add more weight to the back as I can, but if it's not enough weight, then I'll just end up putting it in the front. ABS is another thing that I added. This was a little later on into the build. I didn't originally plan on running ABS. I did have the chase base, brake booster delete, and ABS delete, and all the other good stuff. I did like it, but with the track, I definitely feel like ABS is going to be needed, especially when I'm late braking and all the other good stuff. I just want the reassurance of having ABS, so I went with the MK60 out of the E92. Seems to be a great unit, and it's a pretty standalone. I'm going to be running the Happy Cactus little controller, just so I can run the factory e36 wheel speed sensors and I don't have to do any modifications to like run a E92 or E46 style wheel speed sensor. So that's pretty much gonna be all like standalone. Got my little coolant tank on the side. Try to keep everything nice and tidy in the engine bay. I know it's kind of hard when you start cramming stuff and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. This isn't the biggest engine bay ever, but I made it work. The last thing that we're really waiting on is the oil cooler, or not, we are waiting on the oil cooler, but the oil catch can. I do have bungs welded onto the valve cover for the oil catch can, and I don't know where I'm gonna mount that yet. It kind of depends on the exhaust placement, but yeah, it's either gonna go over there, over here. I don't know, we'll see.
To the inside does look pretty bare right now, but that's because I stripped out the seat. The seat really does bring the interior of this car together, but nevertheless, I have a Momo seat. It's downstairs. I'll show you guys that in a minute. Stock steering column. It's a D&D hub with a riser, and I also have the FIA legal quick release force, so that is all good. I also got a pedal box down there. I don't know if this is gonna be the pedal box that I decide to live with. When I first started this build, I didn't plan on having ABS in the car. And then going down the build, I obviously decided to go with ABS, and this is a non-ABS pedal box. I mean, it's really not non-ABS, but the style of master cylinder, it's really hard to find ABS compatible master cylinders with that 2-bolt style. So I might switch over to a tilt-in box, but we'll see on if I can source some masters that are ABS compatible with the 2-bolt style. But we'll figure that out as we get the build going on. Of course, we got the water box that's mounted over there. I might bring that up a little bit so there's air gaps, so it's not getting heat from the floor pan, but we'll see about that a little later. I like the positioning of it. I got the Cooler Works. I have a Cooler Works notchy ass shifter. This thing is so notchy. I love it. The shifter is also paired with the 420G E36 M3 6-speed manual transmission. That's the one I decided to go with. I had the 5-speed out of the M3 E36. I just more or less want the extra gear and the more mile per hour that 6-speed gives you, and it's a little bit more bulletproof. We might be switching that to an 8 HP down the road, but I'm not really too worried on that. That's probably the last thing that I'll upgrade if it holds up. I also do have the biggest Clutch Masters clutch that is inside there. So it's the Clutch Masters FX 840 or whatever. It's a twin disc ceramic clutch. It's gonna hold down as much power as it can. It's the biggest clutch I can find, so that's what we got for now. Not to forget the cage. The cage is a Cage Kits cage. It's the road race style cage. I did add a subframe tie-in from Turbo Nasty. It's a different company, but it ties in the subframe to the cage, and I thought it looked great because it tied in the strut bars, or the strut towers, to each other, and then also the subframe to each other. So all of that is going to be stout. I need that because I do have a fat rear end in it. We'll get to that in a minute, but it is all stout within the cage. I am happy with the cage. It fits amazing. It looks amazing. I love it. For fuel, I have Radium. I have both their fuel hats. So the passenger side siphons to the driver's side where the fuel pump's at. The fuel pump I'm running is a Deechworks 810. It's, again, the biggest and baddest I can possibly get. It's a brushless. It has a little pump controller right there, a 3D printed amount that is basically going to live right there. That controller is. So that's pretty much where all that's going to live for now. I do have to get the PDM that's going to control all the power for the fuel pumps, the fans, and everything else. So we'll finish up the wiring and all wiring management at a different time. It should provide enough fuel for whatever I need. Worst case scenario, these are a dual pump unit, so I can put another 810 in there if I need to. And that's all going to the Radium fuel pressure regulator and filter. I love the design. It's a quick little knob, so if I want to change the fuel pressure, I can go underneath the car and click it a couple times to see if I want it higher or lower. It has a little gauge on it, and it fits in the factory location, so I couldn't be happier about this. It's all ready to go. I did get those fittings in today, so I can go ahead and mount this up into the car. That's what we're looking like going into the rear end, and then we're going to talk about suspension a little bit. Let's get this trunk off. So moving on to the rear, we have the 210mm diff out of the M5 and also the E39 or E34, I can't remember, but I have a Rally Road adapter that adapts it to the E36 subframe. It is all ready to go. This thing is stout. It's ginormous. It doesn't really look like it's any different from the small case diff out of the E36, but this thing is, I'm telling you, this thing's ginormous and it's heavy. I do have all the mounts welded in. I also reinforced the subframe where the control arms mount, this sway bar mounts, and also where it mounts to the frame. So the subframe is all reinforced and ready to go. Right now I'm running E36 M3 axles just for fitment. They work perfectly fine. I needed to run a little bit of a spacer, which I got the spacing worked out perfectly. So when I do get custom axles, I know the size and everything for those. Moving on to suspension, it is a little bit different setup. I wanted to show you guys in the rear because this is where it's majority different. I have feel suspension. It is a true rear suspension. So as you see, the spring is on the shock. So it is a strut basically in the rear end. Not basically, it is a strut. And it moves it outbound closer to the wheel. On a factory E36, you'll have a spring on the upper control arm, more end board. And the only difference between these two is you have to run hella high spring rate to achieve the same thing, because you have more leverage of the wheel because the spring's more end board. So the wheel has more leverage over the spring. And also it's easier to adjust ride height and everything else with a coilover than it is a true rear. It's not difficult, but I like the true rear suspension, so that's what I went with. So I have an upper and lower tubular control arm, nothing factory within the rear end. It all looks good and it looks mean. It's ready to go. So also with the rear end, I am going to be running a chassis mount wing. I am getting all that mocked up and ready to go. I will have plates that will mount the wing right here, and it will basically go up into a swan neck and mount right there. It's kind of hard to visualize right now because there's nothing there and I'm just pointing at blank space, but there will be a swan neck wing that will pop out of the trunk, and I'm working on that right now, so stay tuned for those videos. I'm hyped to start posting content on me actually working on cars because, yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on in this build. I'm pushing myself. I'm not saying I'm He-Man or Mr. Perfect or I know it all. A lot of this stuff is trial and error and actually just doing it
and not being scared about doing it. But yeah, that's what we got right now. Diffuser, I really want to make a really big rear diffuser, but with all aero, it really needs to be tested. I don't know where the perfect flow is, so that's something that we're gonna have to figure out once this car is running. I'll have to generate more or less a test to be able to see where optimal flow is for that diffuser. So we'll design that as well once the car is running. I do have plexi windows all the way around, except for the front. I don't have that window yet. I don't know if I'm gonna be running glass or plexi. I haven't decided. I'm kind of leaning towards plexi just because the front end is so heavy. Kind of want to mitigate front end weight and try to keep it as light as possible. But yeah, well, that's something for another day. One thing I also almost glanced over is the body kit. The body kit is a Phantom wide body kit that I did modify. The front end is completely different. I basically just took the measurements and how it's scooped and copied that and extended it out, because the control arms that I have in the front extend out the wheel a decent amount, so I couldn't run the factory Phantom wide body kit, or at least the size. So I extended it out. I might even have to extend it out more, because as you see, the wheel kind of has some interference here, so we might have to extend it out some more. It also has a lot more provisions for air to escape out from the fender, and then same thing with the back end. This is a little less modified. All I did was chop off the little side skirt extension that I had right there, and so I can fit my own side skirt. And then yeah, I just opened it up hella. So I opened it up the rear half so air could flow out. I opened up this so air could flow out. The other side, I opened it up. It is a Phantom wide body kit. I made the front end fully carbon when I did do my own custom front fenders. And then the rear is half carbon, half fiberglass. So these are also made by me. Those are full carbon with a backing of foam board. So they're backed with foam board and then reinforced with carbon. But they are pretty stout. I do need to make underside brackets just to hold them to the body a little bit better. Same thing with the trunk. I did end up making my own trunk. This is just carbon. There is no underlay or anything like that. I think it's like 3 or 4 layers of carbon. I do need to finish the resin on the top. As you see, it's kind of hella wavy. That's the downside of not vacuum bagging carbon. There's kind of 2 different ways of making carbon fiber parts. There's vacuum bagging, and then there's also wet laying. And I did the wet lay on both my trunk and the front fenders. But the wet lay just takes a little bit more time, and sometimes you can have inconsistencies like this. So you have to go back through and fill them and do all the other good stuff. But we'll get it taken care of. We'll make it look good. But that's pretty much the body kit. I still need to make a front hood. I don't know if I'm gonna buy a carbon hood or if I'm just gonna make my own carbon hood, but we'll see. I have a carbon. No, I have a hood outside that I might use to make a carbon hood, or I'll just buy one and throw it on. But that's what we got for the body. Wrapping up the build breakdown, let's go to brakes. Right now I have 135i calipers. These are Brembo calipers. They're 6 pistons in the fronts and 2 pistons in the rear. These aren't going to be a forever brake. I am going to be upgrading. Probably if anything, that's probably going to be the first thing I upgrade after this build is done, is the brakes. I want to move to an AP Racing R5000, but they are $5 grand for the calipers and rotors. So it is a big chunk of money. So that is something that once this car is running, we'll go ahead and upgrade those, because I did upgrade those brakes pretty much as soon as I got this build, or the first version of it done, and then I'd start taking it apart. So I really don't have that much time on these brakes. These pads are pretty much brand new. But yeah, that's what we got for the Time Attack E36 right now. We're gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna show you guys the parts room and show you guys what's up with the 3D printer, and then we'll wrap this video up. Moving on to the dungeon. This is the basement. I got my 3D printer. I have another one over there. This is my newest one. It's my Ender 5 Plus. It prints out all my big car parts and everything I need. I love it. It has a little enclosure, and I have some LED lights around it so I can see when it is printing. But
I don't have anything printing right now, but that's my Ender 5 Plus. So all my car parts that I 3D print and mock up and all the other good stuff pretty much get printed from this or that, depending on what filament I do. Because I do carbon fiber. This is rated for carbon fiber, but all my smaller ones I'm trying to do with the other one, so I can have both of them running at the same time when I need. And this is my parts room. This has everything organized from new stuff that I just got or to old stuff that either can be reused or is just for storage right now. Power steering pumps, all my extra stuff for the daily. It's my turbo that I'm running. Cold side is at the fabricator getting welded up, so I don't have that. Got my window net. Got my wastegate and then blow off valve, all that other good stuff. Max ECU. But this is all the parts for all the different vehicles I have, whether it be motorcycles, wheels for the daily, parts for the race car, parts for the daily. But this is about it. And we got the Momo seat, boy. The Momo seat, boy. Momo seat, boy. Yep, got that Momo seat. Halo mount too. What you know about it. One thing else I want to show you guys is the sim setup. So I'm moving on to the inside of my house. This is my office slash game room slash editing room. This is my sim setup. It's not done yet. I have 132 monitor. I want to add 2 more. I have the mounts for it. So this is a growing thing. My PC also was trash at the beginning. It only could run 1 monitor, but now I'm slowly upgrading it so it can do pretty much anything I want to now. But besides the point, yeah, this is my sim setup. I can test out my car. I can do whatever I want. I have my car pretty much built in, what's it called? s54, so I can test it out on different tracks and all that other good jazz. But I got a Rig Metal sim base. Got the Moza R5, and of course, like I said, it's on PC. Got sound system around it, so sounds realistic. And I just got my old NRG seat. But yeah, pretty basic, pretty baller. Love it, like it, good, boy. Used to have 3D printer there, but this is where I edit my videos. J. Cole. So that's gonna wrap up today's build breakdown. I appreciate you guys watching. That should kind of explain where I'm at with the E36, and I showed you guys all the part room and everything else. But I'm excited to start making actual content on working on the E36 and showing you guys how I work on cars and the progress of the E36 and everything else in between. I'm super pumped. I hope you guys stick around because this car will always be worked on. I'm always gonna keep on improving it no matter where it's at. It's not going to be, oh, the car is finished, it's rolling around, okay, let's move on to the next thing. No, this car means more than that to me, and it will always be a continuation of trying to get better, trying to improve even the smallest things. So, appreciate you guys. You guys stay safe. Peace out.